Well, it's been quite some time, hasn't it? Let's see if I still remember how to do this. Apologies for being away. I did finally get my mom's house on the market to sell. That was taking up a lot of time. As you know, I moved recently, started a new job, which was supposed to be 45 hours a week. It's been much more than that, but we're finally full staffed. And had some, auditions and stuff to film. Always last minute. Always after working 12 hours. So that's fun. And it was Samhain and, big day for witches and stuff. So I had a lot of prep work for that and spells for people to do and a couple for myself. Nonetheless, I'm going to try to get back into this. And I have a very important thing to make you all aware of, particularly if you are in the group that, watches my narcissism videos on this channel. Because we have a major problem on that front. Yes, the narcissistic parents, mostly boomer parents, are now doing what they do best, in some respects, playing the victim. That's right. We now have, because for about 10 years now, the understanding of narcissistic abuse and borderline personality abuse came from channels on YouTube. These communities have existed for a little over a decade. Well, now the boomers are trying to claim them as their own, as they try to claim everything as their own, because to the narcissistic baby boomer, the world revolves around them and everybody else exists only to serve them. They are ageless. It is forever their prime, and whatever they believe is the best, and other people's lives and quality of living, opportunity should all be sacrificed for their comfort and their nostalgia. It's like, we shouldn't change anything economically or in the workforce because the retired boomer, who it doesn't affect, is uncomfortable with that. We have to make sure they're comfortable, the founders, the gods. We just exist to serve them. I'm thinking about Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and the changelings convinced other races they were gods and the other races existed only to serve them. It was quite pathetic. But they were defeated in the end, albeit almost by a genocidal viral weapon. But nonetheless, the boomers are whining. You can look all over YouTube. There's all these channels now about estranged parents, parents whose children cut off contact with them and they're the victim. It's not their fault. Like, how dare their children not live the life that the boomer, wants them to live? And this isn't limited to gender or race. You can find it's mostly boomers. There's a few Gen X or older and Gen Xers, but it's mostly boomers whining about how their kids don't talk to them anymore. So we're just supposed to ignore decades of abuse. And again, the boomer in these videos, because I've watched some of these videos over my lunch breaks at work while I sit in my car and eat my salad and, true introverted nature, lunchroom. I don't know about that. Yeah, so in my fortress of solitude. But yeah, they whine about how, we did this and that and, I wasn't perfect, but they never accept any responsibility for the abuse they did. Though, they dismiss it all. It's like, I may have did this, but that was a long time ago. And it's like, how dare they not want anything to do with me? So, as I've said in previous videos, to the narcissist, you have no free will, but particularly to the narcissistic parent, it's like, how dare you decide who you interact with in your life? And it's the same as I spoke in my own personal stories. It's how dare you choose what career you want to do. How dare you choose where you want to live. How dare you choose who you want to date. It's like, this has all been pre-planned, and you are to fall in line, blind obedience, no questions asked. And that's what the boomer narc parent thinks they're entitled to, like blind allegiance. They believe, it's like, if I believe it as the boomer parent, it's therefore true, perfect, the best, and unquestionable. They see themselves as gods. And you see this in some of the videos I've watched about these whining narc boomer parents, particularly the religious ones. they'll go, they'll use the Bible as justification, like, oh, honor father and mother and all that crap. Well, what if your kid don't, you can't make someone believe in the Bible. That's completely optional. But even if you do, you can see how these boomers twist it to fit their narrative. So, like, all the parts that are convenient to them are important. But these boomers, it's like, in this case, they talk about their multiple marriages. It's like, so you cheated on your wife and you've had multiple wives. Yeah. Pretty sure that book you love so much says that's bad, but it's okay for you. It's, because it's not about, for the boomer narc religious parent, it's not about the religion. It's not about the Bible. It's about them gaining authority through it by saying, this book is holy, but I, boomer, am holy. So my boomer interpretation of this is the real law. Who cares about what it said, in the original contemporary text in Aramaic? Everything was leading to the boomer. So that's their new thing. Now they're, trying to, for those of us that have been through narcissistic abuse, they're basically trying to say we have no right to complain, that, like, how dare we speak up about abuse, or how dare we not consider what going no contact does to them. That's another thing the boomer does quite well. When I was going through my bullying and hazing and retaliation 3 years ago in the Arlington County Fire Department, my mother got wind of it, and it was all about how it affected her. Never mind what I was going through, or that my life was falling apart. My dream career was not only dying, but I was about to be blacklisted for having integrity and speaking out. Not the first time I ruined a career through that, and it'll probably happen again. But it was all about, what are people back home, not in Arlington, back where she lived in PA, going to say? Because, where I grew up, it's like the good old boys club are gods. They're just divine right of kings bullshit. Yeah, then that's all it mattered. It didn't matter what I was going through. Yeah, and that's how it is with the boomer. It's like, well, just because I abused you and you don't want to live the life I want, it's like, don't you understand what this does to me, or more importantly, is what people are saying, because their whole lives are about keeping up with the Joneses. And look what I have, look at my stuff, So they're going to keep whining on YouTube. And of course, because the world revolves around baby boomers, and that's why, we are bullied into falling in line behind boomer politicians who have been pushing the same neoliberal corporatist status quo since the 80s. There is nothing good about Joe Biden, and but oh no, he's so good because he's in the club. That's all it is. He's in the club. He's the quintessential boomer, good old boy, status quo defender that they love so much, because it's the system they've benefited off of all these decades. But they are now, on YouTube whining, and of course, YouTube, which doesn't promote and hides videos and channels like mine, they're promoting these boomer channels. Yeah, and of course, boomers, because they're the richest generation ever, they're having, these videos professionally edited with the cheesy music, like, poor me, I just miss my kids so much. No, they don't. They miss the narcissistic supply. They miss the supply, because if you go no contact, the supply is gone, and the boomer lives for their supply. You search, estranged parent, of adult children, and plenty of videos I show. Watch them. Look at the fate. Look at the smug, borderline smirks in these people. Look at, the entitlement, and just the total disregard for what their adult children went through, and also the total disregard for the fact that we are talking about adult children who have free will. It's like it's like the boomers like, but this isn't what I wanted for them. Well, it's not your call, boomer. Plenty of boomers did what they didn't do. Well, that was different. We were right. When we did it was different. Why? How was it different? Because you're boomers. That's really the only answer they'll ever give you, if you even get that, and you got to really push some buttons just to get that out of them, as I have. So be aware of that. Be aware that, they are appropriating our abuse, our experiences. They are, like always, making it about them. and they're going to try to paint themselves the victims and try to villainize those of us that go no contact, which could quite possibly be very many of you on this channel. Not me, as my parents are dead, so my mother would have loved to have played that card, but, you know, can't. Yeah. You know, what? She's right here. Yeah, can't really play victim anymore. But that's something you should all be aware of and take precautions against. And know that, you know, it's for a while they've been infiltrating like support groups, particularly on Facebook, but now they're making videos and making themselves the victims. And when making themselves the victims doesn't work, they're going to go start making videos using another tactic that they love and they've used for years: rewriting history. That's why I told you it's important to always keep evidence, write things down, when it happened, who was there, what was said, you know, recordings if you can, whatever you can do, so that when they inevitably do try to rewrite history, they can't. You know, that you have undeniable proof that they'll have to confront, that any rational person will believe. Now, the narc never will, because, you know, again, they're never wrong in their eyes, but everyone else will then see them as they are. And that's why they're playing the victim. They fear they're being exposed. They know, and it's been for a few years now, that the jig is up. That, you know, they know we know about their abuse, about their greed, about their narcissism, about their generation's incompetence, you know, the truth about neoliberalism and how everything's been about them, and, you know, how they refuse to accept that they're old now, and how everything in like entertainment, have you noticed in the past, like since 2016, everything in entertainment has been a remake of something from the 80s pretty much, because boomers can't never know when the end. They still believe they're in their prime. They want to relive those glory days. It's all about their comfort and their nostalgia. And people are sick of it. People are sick of, you know, the current world, which essentially treats, well, it rewards narcissism for one, but in a broader picture, it is of boomers, by boomers, for boomers, and everybody else born after 1964 are second-class citizens. Unless you're rich. If you're, you know, what particularly revolves around white baby boomers, but, you know, exceptions. If you're, you know, 28, if you're a, you know, a 28-year-old African-American professional athlete, oh, you're, you know, that's different. You're a celebrity. You're a millionaire. If you're, you know, a 35-year-old white female actor who's famous, again, that's different. But for those of us that are middle class, if you're born after 1964, you're second class by no other reason than other than the date of your birth. Just like how, you know, the alcoholic, wife abusing, layabout baby boomer white male who was born in 1958 is superior solely because of the year of his birth. That's kind of how they think. So be aware of it. They're going to try to make themselves the victims over the abuse that you did. That's right. You're now the villain for getting away from abuse, particularly, and I'll wrap it up with this, if you have children. Oh, they want to manipulate their grandchildren so bad, and they feel they have the right to. Because again, when you're raised by narcissists, and this is my truth as well, you are expected to act like an adult when you were a child, but at the same time, they never let you grow up. So in other words, you're always, you know, you're always considered a kid who has to act like an adult, but you don't have the rights of an adult. You get it? So, you know, one thing that, you know, so in their mind, like, you cannot teach, those aren't your kids, those are my grandkids, and I must impart my godlike boomer wisdom. No. Yeah. And that drives them nuts. And also drives them nuts when they're no contact, because they don't know what you're telling the grandkids about what you endure. Why can't we see grandmom? Well, this is what grandmom does. This is what grandmom's about. You know, don't let her fool you just because, you know, she buys you things. They narcissists love trying to buy affection, be it narcissistic parents or particularly narcissistic relationships. So be aware of that. Be aware that those channels are out there about the poor, estranged parents, you know. just because we abused our kids for decades doesn't mean they're allowed to cut us out of our lives. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So be aware of that. I'll be making videos more regularly, from here on out. I'm going to try for every other day. We'll see how that goes. Depends if I have auditions or things to film for. But, yes. Oh, the narcissist never quits. The narcissist never quits. So, we have to never stop exposing them either.